I
They
heard they
there
got a
though.
lot of hidden. I heard they got a lot of hidden doors in those rocks, and they also heard they have teleportation, cloaking technology. Like they can throw a blanket over them, and the blanket in itself it bends the photon subatomic particle to the point where it gives off the point where you're looking at a translucent figure.
Yeah, or it's like projecting what's behind them in front of them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, they actually got those for sale. You can actually buy those, some of those now.
Yeah, I seen one of those mirrors. I think I seen one like that on Amazon, I believe. It was for
Yeah.
sale. But they definitely
Fucking,
got that type of
fucking like,
technology.
yeah, but I'm trying to figure out why the hell you in the desert with a suit on. You know
Right.
they had to be somewhere air conditioned wherever you came from.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess it's kind of like one of those things. It's a part of their codex or whatever, like a suit. Because I know a suit is in itself is a form of the veneration of Freemasonry.
Yeah, well I know that's what all that lapels, all that's Masonic code. Lapels, um,
Lapel.
the lapel on your suit, the collar
Oh,
part that
okay,
come
okay, okay.
down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The
that's Masonic. Bow ties, neckties, those are all Masonic symbols. Lapel pins, the handkerchief, all that's all the cufflinks. That's all Masonic.
mm. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's why I try to tell people. I said we wouldn't wearing no motherfucking suits and have paperwork, nigga. We had feathers and like you said, feathers and traditional or tradition, like you said, everything
Yeah,
was based
we
on.
did keep records, but they burnt that shit up.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Macomb, Mississippi, where a lot of our family records was, they burnt the library down, and they burnt the courthouse down, and they burnt down several churches to get rid of records.
Mm.
Like everybody down there know it, but we don't really care because we still on the land. This is where the problem come in at. We still on the land. They keep telling us they stole our land. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and we standing on it.
Right.
The possession 9/10 of the law, and we 10/10 of the owners.
Mm.
So we got the sacred 19 over us. We got the right to reclaim it, following our
Right.
system. If we follow their system, we don't got no rights. Under our system, we got all the rights in the world and the
Right.
rights in the universe and the galaxy. Right? So this is why you rely on your tribal culture to navigate out of this legal fictional culture. Right?
Mm.
Because only by the tribal culture would you see it. You won't see it following a system because it's designed to blind you in plain sight to the what you see. It's
Mm-hmm.
designed to teach you to not exercise critical thinking, practical problem solving skills. The system designed that way. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to say, well, you got to always be asking yourself, well, if I wasn't in this system, would I be thinking this way? And the more you realize that you wouldn't be thinking a lot of the times, you'd be thinking about stuff a certain way, and you'd be like, if I wasn't in this system, hell no, I wouldn't be thinking that old sick ass shit.
That's a fact.
Well, yeah, I'm only think that shit because I'm bombarded with that shit,
Mm-hmm. That's
right?
a
It's
fact.
like children. Children don't be thinking about half the shit adults be accusing them of thinking about. Ain't even on their mind. Babies trying to have fun. That's it. And you done accused the little 2-year-old girl of trying to be a grown woman. She ain't thought about being no grown woman.
Right.
She trying to imitate the females around her until she can find her own groove.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened you keep her up in grown folks' conversations like she grown. So of course she act like she grown. That's all she talk to.
Socialization.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why the structure in at the family's firm was always based on the age brackets. Like we didn't have playpens. We put them on the front porch and let them crawl around the picket porch, and with a
Mm.
swinging gate on it at the big house. That's where all the babies was at. And then you had the mothers was helping oversee the babies, or they was doing something to assist with the house duties. You had the 9 mother aunties. They got the toddlers to the 10-year-olds. The
Mm.
3 to 10-year-olds. They got them out in the front yard.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where the whole saying, don't jump off that yard if you ain't ready to run with the big dogs. That's where it comes from. So
Talk about jumping off the porch.
yeah, don't jump off
Yeah.
the porch because the little boys want to play with the big boys because they boys. But they ain't did nothing to toughen themselves up for it. So when they first get out there, they gonna get smashed and
Mm-hmm.
they gonna cry because they still children, but they trying to be like the big boys.
Mm.
Daddy gonna come over and say, "Yep, that's what happened when you play with the big boys. Get up, dust yourself off, stand back out there and try it again." Mama going, "Oh my poor baby." No,
Mm-hmm.
mama, don't poor baby, and he out there with the big boys. Let him be a big boy.
Mm-hmm.
Then 3 years later, he the leader of the team. He quarterback. he can't
Yep.
barely see over the lane, outperforming everybody out there. They can't catch him when he run or nothing. But remember, when he first went out there and got knocked on his ass, he was a crybaby.
Right.
But he had to break out of mama's teachings in order to step into daddy's teaching.
Mm.
He had to break out of the boy's desire for the affection for the father's authority and rulership to teach him self-discipline and how to stand up to outside threats. This is why they don't want no fathers in the house.
Facts.
And father in the house, a boy gonna stand up when it's time to stand up. Ain't no father in the house. The boy is always wondering if he stand up, is mama gonna get mad?
Mm.
If he stand up, is he gonna make his sister upset? He worried about the women being upset when the burglar coming in the house. He don't know what to do, so he freeze. That's
Mm.
too much. That's too much guessing time right there. Can't guess when
Right.
you can't guess when the enemy at the gate. If you trying to be a warrior or not, you need to already be that. But most people don't want the warrior around until they need one. Most people don't want the warrior around until they need a warrior. But when you need a warrior, sometimes it's too late. You ran all the warriors off because they didn't agree with everything you said and kiss your ass all the time.
Right.
Because warriors not gonna do that. And because you want it your way, you think that you can treat all of the warriors like shit. And then we fall into a war, you ain't got no protection. Now you running up under somebody else's warrior.
You see that shit with the street women nowadays. They jump from one street dude to another street dude. You
They
either
trying
get
to
locked up or you
trying to
get
move up in
killed.
power. Yep.
Yep.
They trying to
Same
move up in
thing.
power too. But never knowing that she got more power than all them niggas if she just walking her divine feminine, they gonna melt at her feet anyway.
Yep.
If
And
she
that's
just
why I
knew,
keep telling women. Go ahead.
yeah, if she just knew that one little part, it'd change the whole dynamic of the streets. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
chicks don't want to sell sex, but they sell sex because they don't know who they is yet.
Mm. And that's the main reason why I keep telling people women they have so much power over this great awakening period because they can shift the mindset. They can shift the vibration. If women was like, I ain't messing with no dudes, if you ain't reading, you ain't working out, you ain't doing nothing self-affirming to where you better in yourself or whatever, it's closed shop for you niggas that's not tapped into that energy. I bet you this whole thing will change 360. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, men, fulfilling their roles,
You talking about
eh,
that'll drag so many people out the closets. You would be
yeah. Yeah, that
it.
too.
It'll drag a whole
Facts.
bunch of people out the closet. I'm
That's a
telling you,
fact.
that making the man stand up to be a man is gonna drag all. They gonna just start putting on lipstick. Like fuck it.
That's it's a socialization process too though. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can
Then
see
now,
it.
not only that though, if you surrounded by women that's in their divine feminine, three of them or more, you can't be miserable. It's not possible. Your mitochondrial is pumping so much love frequency through your cells that all you can do is glow. Especially if they all
Mm,
love you for a long time.
mm.
You know,
I wonder if
so
that do you think that has something to do on the play on the financial system? Because it was one point in time I was believing in, just based on my own independent research, that in order to reset the debt that you have to basically kill off the collateral. And during the time when you had the 1928 stock market crash, that's when you transfer all the way up into 1934. You had humans turn into humanoid real estate. So since we're actually the money, and the money is doesn't have an intrinsic, resource backing it. So in order to reset the debt, do they have to create some type of depopulation?
So the reason why fiat work is because it's predicated upon BTU to labor hours.
Mm-hmm.
BTUs is the amount of energy your body naturally just put off. Calories
Okay.
burned per minute is another term for it. The basic, what they call increase in the calorie burn per hour determines what an hourly wage of a functional work output is. So they're using that as the collateral, your bioenergy field, as the
Mm-hmm.
collateral for the fiat. Your ability to work services your contribution to the banking system.
Mm-hmm.
So they are using that to like as a control measure. So the money not backed by nothing. The promise is that you're going to work under the Social Security Act. You're going to work to remedy the debt that came to us under the Internal Revenue Act.
Mm-hmm.
And you see all these words got act at the end of them. That's because they all just acted the whole time.
Mm. Self, it's right in your motherfucking face. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
all of the acts mean that's another scene in the play.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was telling somebody, even when you're doing music, like you know how they do with the act of parliament. Like anytime you're a creator, if you're a creator or artist or anything, as far as like you want to protect and to where you're able to monetize off your off your creativity, when they give you a contract, cross out artist and cross out actor and put creator because that takes you away from the jurisdiction of the act of parliament.
Yeah, but it also takes you out of the protection of the Screen Actors Guild too, as a because they won't
Mm-hmm.
unionize you if you don't follow the contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's all catch 22. It's based on sharecroppers agreements, the Hollywood contract, the movie contracts, the music contracts. It's all based on the Hollywood. I mean, on the sharecropping agreement being applied to your creative output. Like
Mm.
even if you were like Bill Gates was paying hackers to create his software. Why was
Mm-hmm.
he paying the hackers? Because they the ones that understand the computers the best.
Mm.
You pay them, and then because they work for you, all of the laborers that they produce is your intellectual property, not theirs,
Facts.
right? So if they would all came in under 1099 as creators, then he wouldn't have been able to monetize their asset without their consent. Nobody knows this until it's too late. By the time you realize that you could have went in under a 1099 or as a contracted employee per diem amounts or whatever, if you'd have known that ahead of time, then you could have adjusted so that you don't get financially abused. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson said it better. He said that I was a small, talented boy from Gary, Indiana. They just did never think I would do good business. And they didn't.
Mm.
And when he was putting 5% of Sony in this contract and 15% in that contract, I was not savvy to contracts when I was hearing these news reports. And I was saying to myself, I ain't taking their ass to the bank.
Hey, he was lighting their ass up with that stuff, man.
Yeah,
So
because they know how much he can produce. They figure if they can maximize his output and kill him and get that dead celebrity status behind that Michael Jackson thriller persona, they would be making at least $1 billion a year off of it. And that's how much they're making off of him right now until they got to give it back.
mm,
Mike said Paris going to get all of it. I want to
mm,
see it. I want to see her with his shit. Because when she
mm.
get his shit, he gonna be sharing it with her.
Yep.
I think she the only one that got any of his DNA.
Mm. And is it that his nephew look just like him, the one that's playing him?
Yeah, he do. He look a lot like him, but that's in
Yeah,
the
that's him.
bloodline though.
Yep.
That's in the bloodline. You know, one of his brothers is that boy daddy,
Yep.
or one of his
That's a
sisters is
fact.
his mama. You know, he in the family. He does. They look like damn near twins.
Mm-hmm.
About to see the Great Reckoning. And the Great Reckoning is the resolution, the final resolution to the Constitution. Remember, they violated their oath to the Constitution. Therefore, the Constitution was used as toilet paper. And since they used the Constitution for toilet paper, now it's time for us to show them how to properly clean their ass. So this is a valid
Mm-hmm.
format in social media platform with a reach that extends beyond 1,000 people. It's time-stamped in archivable format for posterity and for legal criteria to be met for all public notice. And with that, it's on you, El. Roll the corn.
Right. Hey, you want to start with the shout out Chiefess Cynthia for the super chat. Hey, you want to start with the small stuff first, and then we get into the 7-minute tapes? Cause we got a couple of small things we just got to go over
Okay.
that people
You
wanted to ask about. It's about the Venezuela. I got like a couple clips on.
okay, but look, you the director.
Huh?
You the director, right? You don't when you
Let's go ahead.
directing the show, you don't ask the guest on the
I
show
got you.
how to direct the show. You direct the show, and the guest gonna come along and they gonna help you with the show. The white sands in the Americas and the old footprints, right? And he was talking about. Remember, we told you the out of Africa theory stems from the historical narrative given from a European perspective, or what they call a Eurocentric view of her historical record. Notice he said that the history hasn't changed in 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago, there was no concessions in what we call today the Middle East for the presence of people in the Americas, right? You had to be a high ranking priest with access to the portal gate to go from Kemet to Arizona, right? If you wasn't a high ranking priest, you had access, so therefore that information don't exist to you. Now, when they give us this narrative of history, none of it is considering anything in the Americas as a historical perspective from Herodotus' viewpoint. You got to remember, who was Herodotus? He was a Greek philosopher, right? That means he was from Greece. And the Greeks was being civilized in Egypt. They didn't have their first university was set up on the island of Crete in about 300, circa 325 AD or BC, I mean, right? That was their first university. The university was set up by priestesses that was sent to civilize Greece and to teach them matriarchal culture, what they call Hellenistic culture. It's named after Hela, the goddess, Helen, the catalyst for what they call the Trojan Wars, right? Or the Spartan Wars. They got different names for it. Now, in the Greek civilization, Helen is Hela. At the beginning of Ragnarok, there's a Odin or Zeus, whoever the father of Thor and Loki is going into his 1,000-year sleep. So he's leaving them in charge, but it's a problem. Once he leaves, Thor and Loki discover that their sister, Hela, has returned to reclaim her seat on the throne. What throne is she referring to? They keep pointing, because the show is Ragnarok, they keep pointing to Asgard. It wasn't Asgard. It was the Earth throne, the matriarchal, or what we call the sacerdotal seat. The sacerdotal seat is the supreme earth seat of the Great Mother. The Black Madonna holds her child and delivers the message to the public that unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. He was waiting to be devoured by the dragon. But Big Mama steps in and blocks the dragon and catches the baby with her own hands. This is the story, right? Now, because all of a woman's eggs are in her at birth, every grandchild is still a child of that mother. So this is how the Big Mama hold the maternal right, because she carried the baby 9 months before her daughter ever conceived to carry it 9 months. Right? So they have to adjust for the sacerdotal seat, the seat of the great mother, who was displaced from her throne in the Anunnaki Wars, right? Which took us to the second video. When I was telling y'all there's been a civilization under the ice, that serves as a receipt. Because I've been telling people for 5 years almost that under the ice of Antarctica, there was a frozen civilization that could telepathically communicate with the people that was coming down there to give them information, to teach them how to thaw them out from the frozen ice. But he mentioned something else, Agartha. Agartha is in the center of the earth. The torsion field version of Earth is not the same as the infinite plane version of Earth, which is not the same as what they call the concave or convex image of Earth. These is different levels of spiritual beings looking at the Earth. If you don't have a 3-dimensional paradigm, you will not see the round Earth. If you're stuck in the 4th dimension, everywhere you look is an infinite plane because all is mind. And the map across the mind takes you across what they call the checkerboard floor, right? When I was a little boy, I used to press my eyeball. It'll go dark. But if you hold it for a second, the checkerboard floor will appear. But the only reason it's appearing is because of a significant blood quantum or quotient of divine blood. You can't see the checkerboard floor if you don't understand the optics. And that's why when I first started studying the eyeball, I press the side of my eyelid right here. My eyeball, it'll go dark. And if I continue to hold it, and I can see with my spiritual eye, there's a checkerboard there. The checkerboard is the 5th dimension. And it's on the 5th dimension where the game of the gods is played that affects the 3 dimension. So these people, when I told you the Bereshanga tribe didn't come from Africa, they was already there. This is basically what they confessing to in the second video. That it was already people there. They've been there, right? They was under the ice, and he calls it an ice wall. It's a shelf, right? Now, remember that big mountain out west? They call it Devil's Mountain or Devil's Peak, where they had close encounters of the third kind, delivering the aliens delivering the abductees back on top of that mountain.
Right.
Now, imagine that multiplied by a couple thousand times, and you understand how an ice shelf works. But you won't understand how it got there. If you want to understand how it got there, you have to be able to have the 3-dimensional perception of the hollow earth or the torsion field earth. Because if you take the torsion field, it looks like an apple almost. But if you poke out of the globe around it, the auric field that holds everything to it, once you pierce through that, you are at absolute zero, right? Below absolute zero. It's several hundred degrees below zero. That means that it's so cold that if water is exposed, it instantly freezes. The good thing about a flash freeze versus a slow freeze is the flash freeze can preserve whatever is frozen in a flash flood. Now, Earth is 1/3 of the
Sorry,
size it used to be. When it was called Tiamat, it was almost as big as Jupiter, and it was a water world. But when they crashed that ship into it and they blew that chunk off that you call the asteroid belt, and they took away the moon that it produced and put this thing up, Luna, right? When they put Luna up there, it stopped the women from being able to control a menstrual cycle in their biorhythms, right? What we call it in modern terminology, the biological clock. Under the pre-lunar Earth, or Tiamat, as it was called back then, under that pretense, the woman had control of her bodily functions to such a high level that she could turn off her menstrual cycle and turn it back on at will, right? Not only could she turn it on and off, but she can auto inseminate herself, right? Auto insemination of a seed is known in modern science as parthenogenesis, right? Parthenogenesis is a non-semen conception, an immaculate or a clean conception without the aid of the spittle of the man or the spill of the man, which is his ejaculate, which is his semen and his sperm. This was what caused the great war in heaven. And this is why I tell you in Revelations that the woman was travailing in childbirth, and the dragon was waiting to devour the child up on its birth. The dragon is a red dragon, but it represents those who steal the babies from the mothers and use it for blood magic, because the dragon means master. The blood magic is derived from what we call the Babylonian sin rites that made everybody sinners until we broke the whole of the doctrines of sin, which is threefold, which is why you have a trinity. Because it's blood magic, which represents the minstrel of the mother, right? It's sex magic, by which way the father passes the seed to the mother in the act of sex. And then it's money magic, which is the child, who is the heir, H-E-I-R, who is the one who is to receive the heritable wealth of the mother and the father as the first competent heir suitable to receive a birthright. And this is why you see Solomon in Kings killing his brother who had took the throne while his father was still alive. And Bathsheba, the wife, goes to the father and say, you know, this dude out here riding around talking about he the new king and that you crowned him. And the father said, no, I didn't crown him shit. I didn't tell him he was finna do nothing. So Bathsheba said, well, if that's the case, what do you think about assigning the throne to your son Solomon? And this is called the negotiation of princes. Each prince be evaluated by what we call consort number one, the wife. Consort number one may or may not pick her own child. The option becomes up to her, because if she never produce a competent male heir, then she have to pick from the male heirs that's available in order to find a competent replacement on the father line. Once she present him to the father had to test his position, his ability to hold his position. When the father tests his ability to hold his position, if he passed the test, now he's qualified to assert his claim to the throne. So this is why you see Bathsheba negotiating with David about seating Solomon as king, right? They use this book called the Bible because it derives from the ancient story we call the Holy Drama. Well, it's actually not the holy drama, but the Osirian resurrection, which is the resurrecting the Father by finding the Son to put on the Father's seat. Heru becomes Osiris, right? And he had to be picked by the Queen Mother, sealed with the number 13, right? Number 13 is the Queen Mother seal. The man, number 6, doesn't become the master until he flips to number 7, right? So now that's a 67 numerically, but when you add them together, what do you get? The Queen Mother seal. So the Queen Mother tells her son that the Big Mama to be restored is born in 67, right? By sacred sealing it with 19. But it depends on the father line and the mother line. When the mother line, Empress Verdiasi, is infiltrated, she can no longer restore the Americas back to the tribes. She's been what we call collaterally estopped, right? That means that they have put so many roadblocks in the way by infiltration and subjugation and subversion to prevent her from exercising her matriarchal right to expel all imposters. This will take us to the Blue House now, because Empress Verdiasi can't claim the throne before she leaves this earth because she's infiltrated. And how do we know she infiltrated? It's because she never asserted her matriarchal right to sit in the sacerdotal seat. None of her advisors told her that the sacerdotal seat was in Philadelphia. And by her sitting in that seat is tantamount to the queen on the throne and ordering order to the whole kingdom. But when you sit in the sacerdotal seat in America, it's at this era, the close of the age, opening of the new age, dawning of Aquarius at the closing of Pisces, right? Taking you here from under the water to above the water. We have to see a matriarch sit in the sacerdotal seat, which is the heralding of the close of the empire that was ruling and the reset for the new birth to take place. So it falls down to what we call numerical value, right? Do you see it play out in the numbers? Once it play out in the numbers, then you can see where it fit in at in the paradigm. And then you move to the next level, right? So you can either, we can go from here to the next one, Elder, or you could take a couple questions in the intro.
Hey, do y'all have any questions based on the information that was given so far? Because we got a lot of stuff. Yeah, the audio had went out, but it's back good now. Everybody's saying it's back good now, so we good. What else? Okay. Yeah, let's go to this next thing because we got some hot stuff, man. We waiting on America upside the head. So they saying the cover up was the all was part of it, but the cover up scheme was to get that silver, man, for J.P. Morgan, because he really don't got what he say he got in the storage, and if they don't come up with this silver fast, that dollar could be in threat. So you think they gonna try to pull another silver exchange, like what they call in all the silver and confiscate? Oh, turn your silver in or else. So what do you think from this Venezuela thing, from what all we got, Rug? What you think?
Okay, play it backwards, Elder.
Okay.
Remember, they took us off for what standards? The gold standard and the silver standard, right? And they confiscated all the gold, and then they later requested us to turn in our silver.
Right.
Okay, now, if we reclaiming everything, who got to give us what back?
Good question.
It has to be played in reverse.
Okay, go ahead.
So they have to give the people back the gold and the silver, right? The reason this is because this is the biggest single transfer of wealth in the history of the world. No time in history has anybody came to power and gave economic opportunity to everybody that they could find, not everybody they could see. Right? Normally, if a country take a windfall, the only people that actually see the benefit is what's known as the aristocracy. The aristocracy is coming from Aristotle. That's who they named after. Aristotle was educated in Egypt, the same as Herodotus, the same as Plato's teachers. Right? This is when he's giving us the story of the Americas, what they call it the Great Atlant, which became Atlantis when they tell the story. It's a Platonic story. Platonic means a friendly story. It's like you got a platonic relationship with a woman. It's a non-sexual relationship, meaning there's no intercourse. That means that there's just two standalone philosophies, right? The two standalone philosophies is known as the twin pillars, severity and mercy. These are teaching tools, severity and mercy. People have a tendency to run from pain and gravitate toward pleasure. The mercy seat is the seat by which pleasure is derived. The severity seat is the seat by which the pains of discipline is applied. Right? Now, the one who walks the middle path, aka the middle pillar, is the one who's called the straight bump, as in the two-ball cane, and the cane being the straight bump. Right? In the left ball and the right ball. Right? So you playing a game of baseball with a black ball and a white ball. You strike out on the black ball because you can't see it. But you hit the home run with the white ball that goes over the field. The black ball is called a strike. Right? Which is actually a fastball. Speed of light. If you can match the speed of light, you travel at the speed of dark. Dark moves so fast that it's already there when the light comes. And it'll still be there when the light goes. So now we're seeing the imagery being played out in the Venezuelan situation. There's other stuff militarily going on with Venezuela as a drug export center for the deep state in America. Remember, Maduro gave the files to America that identify everybody who was funneling money back to themselves from the Venezuelan drug trades. This is why they targeted the drug ships and they were just blowing them up. Right? Because they was cutting off the money supply. Now we go back to the dollar, the petrodollar, the silver backing, and the gold backing. This is what this is taking us to. Militarily, they're creating a circumstance that's going to trigger another condition. If the people that's receiving the kickback money are hiring private militaries, right? They're using the accumulated Federal Reserve notes that comes in on pallets on transport planes, just like the drugs. They bring the money over here and then they break it down into duffel bags and Halliburton briefcases and they distribute it to the deep state actors attaché to be delivered to the deep state actor. They pay their militaries, their private militaries, millions of dollars a month, depending on the level of security they're asking for. if you cut off the access to the airspace, you cut off the deep state actors' access to what's known in the streets as liquid cash. They are no longer liquid. That means that everything is transactional is going to be have to handle digitally. The problem with that was because they knew who they were, they already cut their bank accounts off. Access denied. Now, Maduro know each one of the people who's working through Central Intelligence and the DEA agency to traffic the drugs from South America, coming from all South American countries, not just Venezuelan, but using Venezuela as like a way station. And the file is the whole who owned what coca farm, what poppy field, who owned it. It's in the paperwork. Maduro surrendered the paperwork. Now, how do you protect Maduro once this is all brought out into the public? You have to have him under what's called state-sponsored security on high level, so you charge him with high-level crimes and you lock his ass up. Right? Now, the deep state have to figure out who can they pay to help Maduro commit suicide, like Jeffrey Epstein. While they trying to figure that out, they still got to pay their private military's protection. Now, as a private military, most of these guys that started them, 99% of them, are former military. That means that they still believe in their oath to protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So the message goes from the military, let us make our money, and when they can't pay, you can come get them because we won't be here. So the military say, okay, just keep an eye on your ward. Because when you hire protection detail, they call you their ward. So while they watching the ward is paying them to watch him, but they still in communication with military intelligence. Right? Now, they know that these deep state actors, these private militaries know that they had access to trillions of dollars that the regular people never knew of or seen. And they was using sizable amounts of it in what's known as black ops operations. Okay, now, if you're going to get these people, you have to trap them using what they already do as the bait for the trap. That way, you know the enemy bait the trap himself. Now, when they get Maduro out, then they can show us exactly what the United States corporation being installed over here. They could show us the example so we could see how it worked when they took over and exerted jurisdiction over here that they did not have. Right? So when they asked President Trump who was going to run Venezuela, he said, what? We are.
Right.
Until such time as what? The people pick a viable leader. He just told us a code in there. He ain't talking about Venezuela. He talking about us over here, the tribes over here. But they using the Venezuelan story to pass the message in plain sight, in your face, behind your back. Now, the silver is critical because one, around Christmas time, Chase Manhattan, JP Morgan, closed 30,000 branches. They don't, where's all these branches at?
Right.
right? They got to be servicing somebody somewhere else other than us, because it can't be 30,000 Chase branches across this country.
Nah, it ain't not. Nah, Chase sitting down like that.
Right. So they have other means and outlets. That's just telling us, by putting something out in the plain, blatant contradiction public like that, right? That's telling us, pay attention to this, because it's finna tell you something else. This ain't really what you need to pay attention to, but the thing you need to pay attention to you is coming up, which takes us to the assault on Venezuela. The people that is applying the JP Morgan silver situation is not telling y'all that the whole European silver standard was called in by the debtors, which was the actual rightful heirs of Europe. When they did that, it created what's known as a financial vacuum in the silver industry. That means they took out of circulation such a massive amount that it naturally made them raise the value of it, but also decrease the supply of it. Right? This is what the silver controversy is. And then the oil, the petrodollar. Remember, the BRICS nations are literally building a dam financially to force the dollar back home.
Right.
In order to crash the dollar at home. I mean, a domestic crash of the dollar system, which is right now being manifest in bank closures and laying off people in the IRS, cut 30% of their staff after they had already cut another 35% of it a couple years ago. What they cutting back like that for? But then you have the conclusions of these accountings that the Doge team is doing. It's also telling them who is skimming off the top of our wealth in order to finance their opulent lifestyles. So if you're going to activate Masara Jasara properly, you have to first know where everything that's going to be used as a backing for the financial system that has no such thing as interest or credit. You either got it or you don't got it. You either can afford it or you can't afford it. Right? Ain't no credit. Because credit creates what we call servitude debt serfs. The servitude debt serfs are people who's into somebody else's pocket and can't live their own life until they get out them people's pocket. This is what the music industry do to its artists. They keep them to the point where they can't use them no more and they can't make money on their own. Then they cut them loose with all their money in the music industry pocket. Right? So you seeing the whole thing, Moderno and all that, it's the same play that they played with Saddam Hussein.
Muhammad
with a lookalike, because he's a Saddam Hussein lookalike.
That's right.
Some people think it's the same actor. I don't think it's the same actor, but I think they came from the same casting call. That's when you call all of the actors to play a part. Maduro was the leader of one of the cartels of Venezuela, who exiled the duly elected president. I think he went to the Middle East somewhere. And he'd been in exile for 3 or 4 years, and he was the president the people elected, but Maduro established a coup that ran him out of there. They reenacted the Obama administration when Trump was caught up in the Russiagate scandal. It's the same thing, but it's somewhere else, because sometimes it's too close at home for us to really see it. So they have to show it to us away from home. If you're trying to get the mainland people to see what happened now, Another thing that's tied to Maduro is the voting machines and who ordered them and what was the specs ordered on the machine because they came from Venezuela. The 2020 election steal. So this is getting deeper and deeper because now it's forcing people to make moves. That was not a Russian ship that they captured. That's why Putin didn't demand the ship back.
Mm-hmm.
He demanded the people back. He wanted to try them over there because they're Ukrainians. And they wanted to bring the Russian ship to escalate military warfare between the United States and Putin. But Putin's equivalent to what used to be the KGB and the CIA are actively communicating the intelligence that's telling them how these people are trying to start the war, and this is how you can make a preemptive strike. We watching it play out in real time, but we don't know what we're looking at because it's too close to home. Now they playing it out at intervals and spaces. Not to mention, a lot of people think that they're waking up the great Leviathan, the serpent of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And some people think that they're trying to harvest some of the blood of the dragon, which I would say would be a very horrible idea. If it's real dragon blood, there's no container you would be able to hold it in. It has to, true dragon's blood has to evaporate in the air, and it don't leave a trace behind. Like if our blood evaporates, it'll leave a charred residue. Dragon blood doesn't do that, but it's also acidic to the touch. So that would be a bad idea, trying to harvest some dragon's blood. The simulated dragon's blood that they make for ritual purposes doesn't even have 1/10 of the power that real dragon blood has, but you gotta have to know how to handle mercury in order to know how to handle real dragon's blood. So I don't think they want to do that because sometimes the dragon blood is sentient, so it will pick up and to perceive your ideas of how you intend to stop it, and it can alter and adjust in order to be able to go back to the dragon from which you took it. Because that's all they do is it returns back to its source. And anything they try to stop it, it can eat through it. So it's a lot going on with the Venezuelan thing more than what meet the naked eye. But what meet the naked eye is prepping you for what you haven't seen that's about to come.
Now, some people. Before we go to the next video, so what is your thoughts on the silver refinery that they setting up in Tennessee, so they can allegedly funnel this silver? And do you think J.P. Morgan don't got all the silver that he say that he been sitting on? That's all a host. But we always know that they don't really never have no, like the people that was running the field. They ain't really never have no natural wealth really.
But J.P. Morgan's wealth is not predicated upon any of what they call reserve.
Okay.
The fiat dollar does not require anything to support it because it wouldn't be a fiat then.
That's right. Go ahead.
The word fiat means somebody said it got power, but it don't got power for real. It's an illusion.
That's right.
How do you give the illusion? What's the grand scale? You force people to trade in oil using the fake dollar. And by trading in something that's so critical to our industrial lifestyle, it gives the artificial life to the dollar. Right? But just like the dragon's blood, the oil has to return back to the earth. So the dollar then is traveling, because remember, it's just a dye marker in the water of our energy field. It's the green dye marker. This is why they call it the currency, because by watching the dollar, you can follow the current to the sea. and you can see the current as it flows within the field of the water because you got a dye marker. You can follow the direction of the flow of the money. And when you learn criminal investigation and you trying to figure something out, the number one rule is follow the money.
Right.
Right? Follow the money if you want the MO. Right? Because the money is showing you the direction of the energy flow. The one who's benefiting 9.9 out of 10 is the one at the end of the money trail. They the ones that benefited the most. Right? Mm-hmm. So they using the same principle, except they doing the reverse. They cutting off the money supply to the deep state. And in the open, they showing us what looked like Debo tactics.
Yeah, we taking it.
We took that. Yeah. But really, we're not taking nothing. Because North, South, and Central America and Greenland is included in this. A lot of people don't know that. That is the collective of what we call Turtle Island.
That's right.
Canada and the United States got the same QSIP number. That means it's the same company. It's just two different parts of the same company. As we say in factory work, it's either in the trim department or it's in the chassis department. And that's where the majority of the car is assembled.
Wow.
So Canada is the chassis, and America is the body shop. It's the trim shop where you put all of the stuff together on the inside of the car. Mm-hmm. Set the wires and for the sensors and all of that. And then when you get the chassis, you put the motor in and the parts that run. It's two different functions in the same company. Now remember, Queen Diallo has been putting it in the public domain following the tribal tradition that she took over Canada.
That's right. I
she
remember
couldn't take over Turtle Island. She could only take over a province because she's the ceremonial chief.
I remember it.
Right? The ceremonial tribes fill in where the actual tribe don't remember the culture. And we keep on moving to victory until all tribes is represented knowingly or unknowingly. When we restoring the land, every tribe has to be represented. And the big mama that speak up for the collective, she have to speak up for all tribes across the land, even if she don't like them motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. She still got to speak up for them because they're their own tribe. She don't got like nothing about them. But to keep from being biased, no big eyes, no little U's, right? Don't take sides in other people's conflict. So she can't take sides. All she can do is say, if the tribe is still on the same bloodline, give them their shit. Right? And then the government, that's a corporation, is not really a government. You're going to know when we move back in power, when they start rounding up bar members. Bar members are not domestic legal advocates from our systems. They are barrister carryovers, and that's why they have to be bar members, because they have to be certified by the Crown. The Crown don't operate over here. They ain't supposed to, unless they run in the interim government. The interim government is temporary, right? And according to Noble Drew Ali, he was going to leave the European in power until when?
Until we wake up.
Until we learn how to run a government. Mm-hmm. Now, based on what I done seen from the young youth that's stepping up now, not only do we know how to run the government, we can revamp it and make it better, leaner, faster, stronger, and more productive and beneficial to the people.
That's indeed. Right.
All we got to do is kill the old system. The death of the old system is announced with the final collapse of the banking system and the mortgage system, because all of the mortgage is predicated upon fraud.
That's right.
Because there is no money. The bank never gives you anything of value.
Right.
They just write on a piece of paper how much you got to pay.
Right.
Right. So the banks can't own real estate. So therefore, even if they foreclose, they can't hold ownership of the property. So they can't sell it. That means they can seize it, but they can't sell it because it ain't theirs to sell. Why? Because banks don't own property.
Right.
The only property allowed to own is the physical building by which the institution does business. That's it. Right? Because that's the embassy. Now, if you don't know how an embassy works, you will never understand that every bank is an embassy. The embassy is what they call an enclave or a city state that represents the interests of their origin country. It is a soil in the foreign land that operate under the foreign representatives land law or common law. So the banks are pushing barrister law in cahoots with the courts. They are transacting business all day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. They are continuously doing business on our behalf without our input, participation, knowledge, nor opportunity to object, which makes it a constructed fraud. You can't trade my shit without me knowing it, and it's not fraud. So by the definition of contract, when the fraud is discovered, it voids the contract on the prima facie case. That meaning on the first look, de novo, the first look on the new, right? The new look, when you revisit it, stare decisis, the prior ruling still stands as long as it hasn't been competently overturned. The old rules is called grandfather clauses. Grandfather the old rules in. Tribally, there is not a single tribe under the oral tradition that has renounced the oral tradition as the way by which the tribes collectively seek to restore balance to the land and reclaim the land from anybody who have paper contracts.
Facts.
So if we grandfather in the tribal right from the day before Columbus came, we will be operating in what's called our territorial rights. We are enforcing, by putting it in the public domain, our territorial right to assert our jurisdiction over the land.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the message of the final count has to be given by the Black Madonna, meaning the Dark Mother who assumed the sacerdotal seat on behalf of the matriarchs of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through this action that we reclaim our right to rule ourselves because now we know how to run government. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, you dropped
right.
it.
So now that we know how to run government at the close of the age and the dawning of the new age, we just wait for the mother and child, Big Mama and the baby, the Black Madonna, to show you and prove that we understood the assignment and effectuated the remedy following the tribal tradition, right? And put it in the public domain for all tribes to be able to access the information to realize that an ancient tribal right has been exercised to its limit to produce a present reorganization of all assets across the land in order to restore the matriarchy, rebuild the families, strengthen and tighten the family units, and to give us the resources by which all of the above is to be enforced and taken care of. So you count the days and you add the numbers in order to get to the destination. That's a formula, right? So you will see certain stuff and you will know it means something, but never stop to even attempt to figure out what it means. So all the stuff we see with Maduro, with the government, the satire, it's political satire. It's Plato's Republic. It's the dynamic of politics or politricks playing out in the general public to give you the illusion of something that's not exactly what it is, but it's just a representative of something that's available. We got, remember, in the UNDRIP documents of the United Nations, it's telling us what's our rights. America got one called an AMDRIP, American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. In these, if you understand what your rights are, you don't need permission to exercise a right. You only have to exercise the right for it to be protected. We had a right to our oral traditions. So when we put it in the public domain following the oral tradition, the only people that can object is us. And we can only object on the fact as if it don't meet the qualified standard of a public notice. If all of the other information is verifiable and supported as fact. Roll the coin, Elder. What you got?
Somebody asked before we go to the next one, where does the Postmaster General fit into all of this?
The Postmaster General came in under European law. And the person who took the Postmaster General tribally was the guy named something Christopher. Right? He seized that seat. Now, from the colonizers' position, because you got two Postmaster Generals. One was represented by the tribes under the Continental Congress. This is the one that what's his name? Something Christopher is his last name. But he took that seat. And the other guy, Nathan-J. Gould, right?
Yeah.
He sees the Postmaster General flagship.
Is it Russell? Is it Russell?
Yeah, Russell. Right? Yeah, Russell J. Gould or something like that. Yeah. But he captured what's called the flag rights of the Continental Congress that produced the United States. Right? So he caught it on the transition that nobody had filled the office. And that's called a vacant office. Upon the discovery of a vacant office, certain steps you got to take to seize the office. But these two postmasters was the ones that were supposed to negotiate the resolution to the Civil War. That's why you had two postmaster seats. The Civil War was the corporation known as the United States and General George Washington, who was actually a French general, not an American general, because America wasn't America yet.
Right.
And if he was a French general, that means that he derived his power from France. So when you realize Georgia became Georgia under Andrew Jackson, I think it was, requesting King George to create a military buffer zone to stop the tribes from supporting the Gullah War. That was the way that they was negotiating with Spain for Florida. And they used the protectorate, negotiate the protectorate right of the Louisiana Purchase with France. We wasn't instrumental in none of that. But all of the paperwork is available throughout historical referencing, right? From Andrew Jackson and asking King George to establish that military buffer zone and setting up Georgia, which is also the place of the Trail of Tears, which is also the origin point of what we call the paper genocide. And when they ran the Trail of Tears, they were saying an Indian train coming, and everybody's like, we ain't getting on that damn Indian train. F their government. That's how we felt. They called us outlaws.
Hey, Rod, somebody was asking me about could you tell us about the orphan train? Because I was doing a little research on it, and they said they was sending this orphan train out to try to get us to adopt these foreigners so that they can inherit our rights. And then once we die off, because I noticed once you adopt a kid in their UCC commercial system, that kid is more of your kid than your blood kid, according to their UCC system. So what is your take on how they was using that orphan train to try to get us to adopt kids, these foreign kids, into our tribes, just similar to the Indian train?
Well, they wasn't soliciting us. They were soliciting the $5 Indians. And I'm mainly the European ones. And then you had a bunch of females that came from Europe that couldn't have children. It was barren. And so most of the babies came in from Europe after village raids by the Inquisition. Right? When they was doing village raids, they was killing a lot of the adults. And remember, one of the spoils of war is the children. One of the original spoils of war is the children. And the purpose was for the children was supposed to be the servant of the house that captured them. This is the origin of your slaves, where slaves came from creating a working staff for the royal house that was loyal to the royal house because they grew up there. You know, as they grow up, they teach them different stuff. And this is what you call being cultured. Being cultured or being groomed. Now they talk about grooming, they talking about sexual grooming of a child. But originally, every husband had to groom his wife. That means teach her how to be the woman you need in your life versus letting the world teach her how to be the bitch that make you miserable. That's the difference. So when you used to come into the royal house, they put you with people that raised you up, and you had certain rights of royalty have that the peasants don't got, but you still classified as a peasant or a bastard. And that's why the bastard child was always looked down on. And another reason is because they don't know if it was a parthogenic birth or not. Because the woman that's in charge of her parthenogenesis, she can make a male child off the DNA of all of the men she ever been with without the aid of a man. All she had to do has been had sex with a man. And she could be celibate for 30 years and make herself pregnant.
Hey, shout out Linda Turner for the super chat. Shout out Mimi for the super chat. Yo, they gonna take about 60% of that super chat. I'd rather you just send it straight to Raw. If you gonna send us a donation, I'm dropping Raw Cash App and the cash. Just send it straight to Raw because they gonna take $60 off that 100. But I mean, hey, it's much love though. We appreciate it though. Hey Rod, somebody said, have you had any updates on Larry Hoover before we roll that next clip?
No, everything around Larry Hoover is real hush hush. So I don't know. For all I know, Larry might be at home with his family playing dominoes with his sons. I don't know. I've got no information but it will be some when the time comes. A whole lot of this stuff is about to spill out into the open to the point where it's undeniable because we asserting our tribal rights to reclaim the jurisdiction, and we are watching the military facilitate us reclaiming our jurisdiction as the law of the land overrides the admiralty jurisdiction that we are overthrowing in real.
That hate us. It's so many people that hate us because of these deep state suckers who've been running the country for so long. Do you think that these guys are out to stop the they hate America and they just want to blow the people up or get rid of the people, or are they after the rogue government? Are they blaming the whole America, or are they blaming just the rogue government that been over America? Because this is our country, but we have been ran by infiltrators and rogue government. So do the whole country take the blame for the suckers, the aristocrat suckers and deep state suckers like